Greetings, children of the screen, your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here, and once again I am joined by...
Logan.
Right on. Thanks for joining me again for us to do our little discussion video series. So, we've been covering Crossed, Wish You Were Here. We previously did Volumes 1 and 2, which, if you have not seen those, a link for the Crossed playlist is popping up right now, and you can check it out. It's got not only those videos, but all of my coverage of the Crossed franchise on that. This week, we're going to be covering Volume... 3. The one in the boat. The fleet. Yes. So we're going to be covering Volume 3 this week. And we're going to be doing this a little bit differently, because previously we've been doing A-plot, and then B-plot summary, and then just wrapping it up with our general thoughts on the book. However, in this volume, the A-plot doesn't really push the story, forward as much as it has in the previous volumes. Yeah. In this volume... the B-plot really is what's pushing forward the kind of emotional story that's happening, and the A-plot, it's good, but it's there. That's the main thing. And there are important elements of that carry on in the plot, but it's not the focal point that it has been in the previous volumes. So, this time around we're going to be covering B-plot first, and then the A-plot, and then do our wrap up. Yeah.
Sick.
Alright, that's what we're gonna do. It's a plan. We'll see how that goes. Crossed, Wish You Were Here was originally published as a webcomic starting in October of 2012, eventually being printed in physical form spanning 4 volumes. The series is written by Cy Spurrier and drawn by Javier Barrino for Volume 1 and Fernando Milik for Volumes 2 through 4, with inks by Gary Erkson, Lee Townsend, and Keith Williams, colors by Juan Mar, and Juan Rodriguez, with lettering by James Reed. Right on, children of the screen. So, just for a little refresher on where we left off last time, in the A-plot, what had just happened is that dude... Jasper. That's it. His name's Jasper.
Asshole.
He's an asshole. And now he's dead. He tried to attack Shaky, it blew up in his face quite literally, then they put him on an island, little series of rocks thing, trying to catch, Sister Teresa and the other cross.
Trap him.
Didn't work. Shaky blew his ass up anyway. Everybody's like, hey, who's the nun bitch? Shaky's like, fuck you. I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
And our B-plot basically ended with Shaky walking in, finding the gameskeeper as he's sexually assaulting Sister Teresa and cutting her face with an axe, and he blows him away. And, that's pretty much how B-plot ended previously.
And since we're totally switching the format, because basically how that ended is how we begin this one, is with the B-plot. The gameskeeper is alive, even though he got blown the fuck away with a shotgun. Shaky, of course, makes sure Teresa's good. Gameskeeper finds out he's still freaking alive after he blew him away. So, after everything simmers down, he ties him to a tree.
Yeah. Remember in the previous volumes, where he was sexually assaulting that rich lord's old lady, young lady, you get the point? Basically, whenever she would refuse, what he would basically threaten her with was that if she didn't do it, then, her fiance was going to wake up tied to a tree with an alarm going off in his pocket.
Yeah.
And that is
exactly
literally what Shaky does.
Yep.
The writer in him needs a little bit of that poetic justice.
Yeah.
And Sister Teresa's not particularly happy about it.
Yeah, and he brings her out there to show her.
Yeah.
Doesn't just move on and be like, oh, gameskeeper.
Yeah, he's like a kid showing his parents, something he just massively wrecked, but to him it's so super cool.
Or a dog dragging a chicken in.
Yeah, doesn't realize that this is not something you're about to be praised for.
Yeah.
But I think also on another level, he feels like she needs to see that this is the reality of the world they live in, and this is the way things have to be dealt with.
Absolutely.
Another byproduct of that scene, which then leads into the next big plot element for the majority of the B-plot in this, is that we find out that Ashok, who was previously strangled out by the gameskeeper, didn't die.
Yeah.
But he did apparently lose enough, oxygen to his brain to create massive brain damage. So he's essentially kind of a little kid now.
Yeah, between that, the PTSD, I mean, there could be a number of things.
And, well, I mean, then they do say that, like, Shaky says he thinks that, like, you know, there's some kind of brain damage or something. But then
it's fucked up.
Right, on top of that, something we didn't really go into because it wasn't as prevalent a point, it was only mentioned maybe once or twice in passing in previous volumes, is that Ashok was a junkie before C-Day, before the crossed infection hit. So he's also been dealing with that, and even in this childlike state, there comes a point in this volume where, you know, after weeks of them barely escaping Crossed because he's too scared or he doesn't understand the seriousness of a situation, and them having to literally, you know, help him do everything from go to the bathroom to eat and everything in between. Like, they come to this church where Shaky and Teresa kind of have a moment to themselves off by the side, and Ashok finds this frickin' little dope kit. It's essentially a junkie's dope kit that's got, you know, his rig and everything in there next to this dead body. He just finds it. And even in this state, he remembers what that is. And so while this is going on, you know, Shaky and Teresa are over there, because as we've been going through this volume, we've been seeing both romantic and sexual tension between them really increasing to a large degree.
Yeah.
And they're in this, like, beautiful setting, and for Shaky, it's completely removed from all religious kind of aspects, and for her, she's in such a bizarre mental state that, like, she's just caught up in kind of the beauty of the moment, and they almost kiss before she starts freaking out. But before they can really get into it, all of a sudden, a shotgun blast goes off, and it's Ashok, who's now doped out of his mind and just firing a shotgun, and the Crossed are coming, and they end up having to fight them off. Although Shaky makes specific mention that he's pretty sure Teresa doesn't actually shoot any of the Crossed.
Yeah, like she picks her shot.
Like she doesn't actually kill any of them, even though he will at one point assure her that she did, and then later assure her that she didn't. So yeah, that's pretty fucked.
Shaky just further kind of does some more nefarious things. He freaking drags Ashok out late at night because he's been such a pain in the ass. And he's been throughout the whole thing kind of like, hey, we should just leave him.
Yeah.
We should just leave him. And of course Teresa's like, fuck no.
Right. And it's not really that nonchalant. He obviously understands the gravity of what he's suggesting.
Of course, yeah.
And it's not something he wants to do, but he feels it is a necessity of survival.
Yeah, fair. And then, so of course, since he knows he's not going to get her backing, decides to kind of convince Ashok to come with him out late at night, and then just kind of leaves him sitting on a rock to go while he goes to the bathroom.
Just leaves him sitting on a rock, and the last that we see of him in this volume is him sitting on this rock, clearly for what is a long passage of time throughout the night, and then just screaming the word "Cuddles!" Yeah. And that's the last we see of him. Then from that point, like, Teresa wakes up the next day, realizes he's gone. They go out looking for him, can't find him, have a big argument about how this is better, you know, or not better from her point of view.
Right.
And then at a certain point, all of this tension that's been going on needs some kind of release, and they finally kiss, and she, like, freaks out and, like, just runs out. She's like, no, I need to be alone, and, like, this is wrong, and all this kind of stuff. And, of course, she gets, like, cornered by a Crossed.
Yeah, right.
Shaky, obviously, not being quite a total dick yet. He does chase after her and finds her, like, cornered by this Cross, who's, like, up on a little embankment, and Teresa's kind of in this alcove that's hidden underneath, you know, like in Lord of the Rings with the ring wraith and the hobbits. Yeah. Just like that. That's exactly what it's like. And just as good, too. And take that however you want. Let me know down in the comments how you felt about that. So yeah, and then basically Shaky shoots that Cross because he's about to find Teresa. And then, like, obviously that's going to attract more Cross, and she's so terrified that he basically goes and ends up hiding with her. Yeah. And they hide all throughout the night. And at some point, the adrenaline and the tension and everything that's happening and the connection that's been building between them and, like, the sense of helplessness, all of it. And it's all just, like, built up to this boiling point, and finally, what happens? They fuck. Or, as we sometimes like to say on this channel, they banged. So that is our B-plot for
hot
this
and
book.
heavy.
Yeah. It's very streamlined, but it is absolutely vital to some of the things that happen in the A-plot having as much weight as they need to have. So, and it's where, like, really the most build of the story is located.
And it answers a lot of, like, questions and maybe curiosities and everything you had feeling after the second issue. Like,
right. Yeah, and we'll get to our expanded thoughts on that in our end segment, but let's go ahead and jump over to the A-plot and see what's going on in the present day.
So yeah, over in the A-plot, we see visitors, people, new people.
Yeah.
And they're on boats.
Yeah.
A lot of boats. Just a big giant, we call them the fleet, right?
Yeah.
They're the fleet of people. They want to trade or maybe advertise. I don't know. They invite everybody onto the ship. Well, first they bring people over and they kind of play pleasantries or try to be hospitable, right? Of course, Don's fucking suspicious. And Rab's not too much keen on him either. But then, I guess, they send people over, including Shaky, of course.
Right. As shady as he's, like, seemingly been, and as much as he's on the outs, Don and Rab still, on some level, trust him with this kind of thing.
Right.
Especially because they're essentially sending a spy.
Yeah, basically.
So, the shady guy's the one that you want.
Right, and he's also not going to be, as you see, because they go through everything and they show him, oh, we got beer, like we have meat, we have eggs, we have all these things, and Shaky's just looking, he didn't give a fuck about that. He's looking elsewhere.
Right, and he can also kind of see, well, if these are the things that you're dangling in front of us, then, like, you're clearly trying to hide something bigger. Mm-hmm. And I think what we eventually end up finding out is that they're running low on fuel, and there's a shipwrecked vessel that has a lot of oil and has, like, a refining, like, equipment on it or something like that, or they already have a rig that has refining equipment. Yeah. And so basically what they're going to need is help in order to get this oil and make more fuel for themselves so that they're not just dead in the water. Business. Yeah. So that is our introduction to the fleet, and then once back on the island, fucking Tabitha's pregnant.
Tabitha's pregnant.
Shaky doesn't know how to fucking deal with it.
Yeah, he completely avoids her.
Oh yeah, he's
hard.
He's just like, nope.
Yeah, and the fleet's like, that's the best thing ever. Oh, hey, Commander, you want to go fishing?
Yeah.
Like, let's go fishing. And she leaves Tabitha there.
Yeah, she's just like, yeah, Shaky, we need to talk about this. Oh, Cora, you want to go fishing with me? Person I barely know, but is a woman, so makes this look so much worse than it is even on, like, the normal level. Yeah. Let's go fishing. It's a good plan.
So in the previous book, we found out that Celine was alive.
Yeah.
And then, with that, Jackson finds out, I guess, too, and brings her back to Kava.
The little island that we talked about in our last video where they saw the weird ritual happening, Jackson just finds her, like, there, and brings her back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't remember the exact dialogue, but then he's kind of just like, how'd you like the fleet?
Yeah, that's right. He just... and then everybody's like, wait, you fucking asshole, you told them about, like, our little thing over here?
Right. And so we get a little tension between them and Jackson, and also find out that, like, not only is he familiar with them and seems to trust them, but he trusted them enough to tell them where Kava was.
Yeah. He also seemed to have, like, made deals. Like, he told them, Kava will help you with the oil.
Because he views the people of Kava as more or less trustworthy people.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
Outpost.
Yeah, he doesn't much care for Shaky and already thinks he's a shady fuck. But beyond that, he has a relationship with Rab and, trusts them for the most part. And if you want to know more about the relationship with Rab, then, check out my coverage of the C-Day special, Jackson's Tale. Now, the next big thing that kind of has to do with the fleet, and again, this is something that takes a lot of time in the volume that we're condensing very shortly here. Basically, through their interactions with the fleet, and this also has a lot to do with the way Shaky handles the fleet, the people of Kava begin to believe that it's only a matter of time before the people of the fleet basically turn on them. They have greater numbers, plenty of, like, weapons and stuff. They could easily wipe them out. And they pretty much just are like, well, fuck it then.
Yeah, we're gonna attack first.
Yeah, if they're gonna come for us, that's all there is to it. Like, in this world, it's the only thing that makes sense. So if they're gonna come for us, then we've got to come for them first. That's fucked up.
So, back to Celine, who has been in a state of shock since she came back with Jackson, Shaky's been checking up on her, and she finally kind of comes back a little bit.
Yeah.
And we kind of get what happened, after Shaky's comic book version of what happened, we get to see the real shit.
Right.
Which is one of my favorite. It's fast. It's insane. It's nuts. And they don't even use words. They just show us. It's crazy. And they catapult a baby.
Multiple, actually.
Yeah, multiple, right? And use them as like their kind of like mortar or like gas bomb or something.
Infected babies, and they just friggin' catapult them over the walls.
Skeet shoot them.
And then it just spreads from there.
Yeah, just infect the soldiers within, and then one particular person, the commander's wife, kind of sabotages the whole deal, right?
Yeah.
And blows a hole in the wall, and then it's fucking chaos.
Right? Celine gets found by our trash bag covered friend.
Right. Yeah, with the welding mask.
With the welding mask and like boxing glove knife combo thing going on. He takes her, and eventually they get to the pier that we saw at the end of the last volume where our main cast left the old lady dentist going, please don't leave me. Well, they did, and this is what happened to her. She also gets taken back to Sister Teresa on this frickin' fucked up island from the previous volume.
The little ceremonial place.
Yeah. Literally, Bagman rapes her to death.
Yep.
Like, while brutally beating her. Like, it's...
And they make Celine watch.
Yeah, they make Celine frickin' watch it. And then, basically, just keep her held captive for a while.
Yep.
While letting her know that, like, everything that they're doing is all for Shaky.
It's all for Shaky.
Yeah. And then pretty much they just left her there so that someone would find her and take her back to deliver the message. And that's fucked. Moving right along, we eventually get to the day of the attack, where basically the people from the fleet are already going to be going out to collect some of the oil and things off the other ship.
Yeah.
And that is when our people from Kava are going to attack. However, when they get there, they find out that they already knew about the attack because the last time that they were doing a little tour of the ship, Shaky left a note. And essentially what this note did was tell them about the attack and also say that I'm telling you this because the woman that I'm with is pregnant and you're going to keep her, and you're going to leave, and that's all there is to it. And the captain goes along with this, but in the process, both the best shot on the island of Kava,
the badass bitch,
the badass blonde chick from Volume 1, she bites it, and also a baby dies, and Dawn. Yeah, Dawn's holding a baby hostage, and he gets shot in the throat, and then he drops the baby on its fucking skull.
I think Jackson throws a knife in his throat.
I think you might actually be right. Yeah.
Like just snipes him with it.
All that is fucked, and our people are heading back to the island, and as they do, they see the cross with Sister Teresa and Bagman out there watching them.
Yeah.
So Jackson, who is now left with the Kava people, and is pissed beyond all reason at everything that's happening right now, basically grabs the rifle and takes a shot and hits Bagman. And through the scope, we see that whenever Sister Teresa removes Bagman's mask, it is a choke. Damn, man.
Yeah.
So once they get back to the island, Jackson and Rab have it the fuck out. With Jackson just knocking the shit out of him. Just decking him one good. But all of that kind of pales in comparison to the next big event that happens, which is all of a sudden the whole fleet is on fire. It's just burning. But Tabitha's in the fleet.
But she's on that boat.
Burning, fire, explosions, screaming, dying. And the people from Kava come out to check it out. And as they're looking, they frickin' see the boat with Sister Teresa and her little, like, inner circle just, like, taking off.
The foot fucker and all of them.
Yeah, and at that point, Jackson is just... he's done.
Yeah.
He's like, no, this has gone on...
too long.
Way too fucking long. Give me whoever's the best shot. And it turns out because Homegirl died when they were trying to take the ship, Shaky is their best shot. And Jack was just like, fuck my life. Okay, fine. Come on, we're doing this. And they basically go out to hunt Sister Teresa and her little inner sanctum, like inner circle there. And along the way, they do encounter some of the Crossed because Sister Teresa is broken off by herself. In the ensuing fight, Jackson gets fucking shot.
Yeah, it gets, like, grazed, but of course all their bullets, like we found out, are covered in shit and everything else, so...
Well, and it's not even like a graze, it's a through through.
That's right.
But he might have some kind of internal damage, but yeah, like, these smart Crossed have been basically booby-trapping, contaminating all their ammo.
Yeah.
And basically Jackson, you know, Shaky just wants to, he's like, what do I do? And Jackson's like, well... You kill me, and then you go about your business, and you finish this. And he's like, but I can drag you. And he's like, no. Like, I know where all your weapons are. I know everything about the island. If I turn, y'all are done.
Yeah.
So do what you gotta do. Because Shaky basically just gives him a gun with one bullet in it.
Yeah.
And Jackson blows his frickin' brains out. And that,
what a way to go.
And that right there says goodbye to my favorite character in this series. Damn it. Damn it. Yeah. So Shaky's all fucked up now.
Yeah.
And he's like, alright, I guess it's just me then.
Yep.
And he goes to chase down Sister Teresa, and he sees her. And it looks like, based on where she's coming from, like, she's not coming from the path that was taken by her and her people.
She's also alone.
And she's alone.
Yeah.
She's clearly coming from somewhere. And it seems like Shaky, rather than taking a shot or anything like that, decides to follow her.
Yeah, just curious.
And then we get our final reveal of the book, which is where she was coming from. And that reveal is... the motherfucking gameskeeper is still alive.
Yep. Just chilling.
Son of a bitch.
Fucking cocksucker.
Missing a leg with his gun. Just, yeah. Like a fucking pirate from a cartoon.
Yep.
This asshole is back. And that is how we close out our A-plot of this volume.
Cocksucking volume, dude. What the hell?
Jeez. Right on, guys. So that's what happens in this volume. Logan, what for you... did you find particularly well executed, or what did you like the most out of it?
Hands down, Celine's story. Like, that, I haven't read near as many comic books as you have, but that little just piece of, like, the way he designed, or decided to write that, and just, like, no words. There's no words through, like, 3 pages. It's just, what the fuck happened, and how gnarly it is that it happened. Also, the art's great. It's definitely the key... well, to me, it's like a key standout moment in that book that you remember.
Yeah, it's done really, really well. The sequential artwork is fantastic and pretty much carries the full weight of the story. And it is interesting to see how many select elements did have like a shadow of a play in Shaky's bullshit version of what happened.
Yeah.
Where there are like pieces of it's like Shaky saw all the evidence you would need to come up with what happened for the most part, except I don't think he really could have come up with them catapulting infected babies.
Exactly.
But other than that, so yeah, it's just nice because we've seen Shaky's like way of it playing out, and now we see the real way that it played out, and it's just, it works so well, and it's haunting, and like the whole idea of her story basically being like, all of this is for you.
Yeah.
It's like, that's fucking terrifying.
Right. How it just flows, and then it does directly cut into, like, you know, like, it shows us what happens, and then, like, oh, and then there was more. Like, it wasn't just, this is that. No, I got dragged to where they did all their, like, ceremonial parts fucking.
Right.
And I had to watch. For you. Because of you.
Yeah. Asshole.
Insane. It's definitely one of the most insane parts, for sure.
One of the things that I really, really thought was done really well in this was the way that the B-plot, which we've been getting all the key components for, and we've been getting all the necessary bits for, but like it's really been building up to an emotional peak.
Yeah.
And in this volume, the A-plot does kind of take a back seat to the B-plot, and that is where a lot of our emotional drive is, and there is plenty of emotion in the A-plot. You know, the whole thing with Shaky finding out that he's, you know,
got a kid,
gonna have a kid on the way, and then like him manipulating the situation to try to provide for that kid, give him a better life, and then the fleet being fucking destroyed.
all the twists with the who dies, and everything.
But at the same time, all those things, even for Shaky as the person he is now, are very muted. You know, they're muted by the world he lives in, whereas all the things happening in the backstory are still very vibrant and like hard hitting for him. So I actually really like the dynamic that this book plays with the A and B plot, kind of switching them up and using that to show how Shaky as a character is different now.
Yeah.
And how he reacts to situations different. Inevitable end of the B plot, as we will see it crescendo into, like, you know, the climax. Seeing how that story turned him into the person he is on Kava. Even though he's been telling us that he was always this person, we're seeing that that's not the true case, you know? Maybe he's becoming a worse version of what he already saw himself as.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really who he was.
Right.
So that's really interesting, and I really like that. While I'm not the biggest fan of the whole fleet, I do think that it was used very, very well. The way that it's used to set up a gradual rising tension really works nicely.
Which that feels like that's just the going vibe of this book. Like there's the sexual and emotional tension throughout the B plot, plus like the elements we needed. But even in the A plot, the tension with the looming, what could be the looming threat of the fleet, while we've already been worrying about the Crossed.
Yeah.
Like this whole book just feels like a tension and build up to the final book. It's just it's a great middle book for the final, I guess, finale. Right.
It definitely puts you in the right frame of mind for where we need to be to go into the next story, for sure. And I do have some slight issues with how some of those pieces are used narratively. Functionally, they all work pretty well on pretty much all fronts. And again, I would say that while I don't think that this volume is necessarily better than the previous volume, it still is maintaining a very high quality on both the writing and the artwork side of things.
Absolutely.
So all in all, it is a really solid volume and definitely fits into this world and this tone and progresses these characters in some wonderful ways. But since I'm an asshole, and we're talking about a book about assholes, it's time for me to be an asshole, because there were some things in this book that I didn't necessarily care for. Let's call them issues. Comics puns are fun, so is rhyming. But yeah, again, the book's very well written. Cy Spurrier does an excellent job, and I really like what they do with the B plot kind of being more prevalent and taking more of a important level in this particular volume. But the truth of the matter is, the A plot story, very little of that do you actually need.
Yeah, fluff. It feels fluffy.
There's a lot of filler there. And, like, I appreciate what's done, and I feel like the filler that is there is handled pretty well. Like, it's well written, it's well crafted, so I'm not bored while I'm reading it, but in terms of actually filling the narrative, a lot of it is kind of shallow.
Yeah.
You know, we meet a bunch of characters, but all very surface characters, because after this volume, they don't fucking matter anymore.
There's a whole lot of none matter.
Yeah. And there are certain elements, such as things like, you know, Tabitha going with the fleet and then being on the fleet, you know, and then there are other little things like that, yes, the fleet provides to the plot, but those are all things that, like, literally, if you were to shove all of the B plot of this book into the next book and then just cut the A plot completely and just keep the element of Jackson bringing back Home Chick and then keep Tabitha something happening with, you know, her and the pregnancy, like, really not a lot changes. So again, it's like, I don't think it's handled poorly, but it does kind of bother me that the A plot, while it's well handled, is not as engaging or as fundamental to the development of the characters and story as it has been in previous volumes, where both the A plot and the B plot, while the A plot was more important, both did about equal job developing the characters and emotional situations of those stories. And in this one, it's very much B plot, and A plot is like, I'm here, man. I'm here and we're doing stuff. A baby died. Don't you remember that baby died? We're doing things. Right on, children of the screen, there you have it. Those are our thoughts on Volume 3 of Crossed Wish You Were Here, and I think it goes without saying at this point, but it's a fucking recommend.
Yeah.
You know? Obviously, again, we've covered this in a way where there's a lot of stuff that we are summing up very briefly, this is like the Spark Notes version. So if you're watching this and you haven't read the book, we still highly recommend you go read the book. There's a lot there for you to discover that we have not completely ruined for you. And even some of the plot points that we cover, there are elements that we're excluding so that they have more impact whenever you read it yourself. So definitely go check this book out. And thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like and share it with some friends. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that so you can check out the new Cross content I've got coming out every 2 weeks. And that's about it, guys. Thank y'all very much. I hope y'all have a good one.
Deuces.
Nerd Scum. Out.